Vincent Park stepped out of the elevator, his legs heavy, as if carrying a large stone. It had been 6 months since Amelia, his beloved wife, passed away in a car accident, but the emptiness and pain still lingered every time he woke up, when he got out of bed, and when he looked at the chair next to him that was no longer occupied. Their apartment, once a warm home filled with laughter, now stood silent, with only the walls and endless regrets remaining. Every morning, like an unshakable habit, Vincent would open the window, look out over the bustling city, and think of Amelia. Their apartment was on the 15th floor of a high-rise building in the heart of the city, a place that had once been full of happiness. He remembered the mornings they spent together, sitting side by side, sometimes having long conversations about the creative projects Vincent was working on, those quiet afternoons when they brewed tea and read books, and how Amelia would share her dreams and the small things she longed for. Now, all of that was just a memory. Vincent couldn't understand why she had to leave so soon when she still had so many things left to do. He couldn't accept that everything had ended so abruptly. Though he was a well-known writer with a series of best-selling books, Vincent could not regain his writing inspiration after Amelia's death. Writing had once been an inseparable part of his life, a way to release his pent-up emotions and connect with his own world. But now, every blank page seemed like a mirror reflecting the loneliness, the unbearable pain, and he couldn't continue. The stories he once wrote were now just meaningless fragments. Every time he picked up a pen, his hands trembled, his mind went blank, and he couldn't think of anything. It felt like a large part of his soul had died with Amelia. With this immense loss, Vincent had closed his heart. His old friends, longtime colleagues, all tried to reach out to him, advising him to return to work, even suggesting he find a new companion to help him overcome the pain. But Vincent remained silent, rejecting them all. He no longer had the strength to engage or accept anyone's concern. Every time he heard Amelia's name mentioned, his heart felt as if it were being torn apart again. He couldn't face their comforting words. Truly, nothing could heal this wound. On weekends, Vincent would often wander in the park near his home. It was a place where he and Amelia had strolled together on many late afternoons. He couldn't bear to see other couples walking hand in hand, laughing together while he was left alone. The park now felt like an empty, vast space, reflecting the loneliness he felt inside. He could clearly feel Amelia's absence in every step he took. As the long days passed, Vincent was left with only one habit. Every morning, after waking up, he would walk into the bedroom, open the large window, and sit in the chair where Amelia used to sit, the one she had occupied countless times to read or drink tea. He would gaze outside, sigh, and sometimes speak to himself. In those moments, it felt as though Amelia was still beside him. He asked her questions that would never be answered. Where have you gone? And why you? He knew he could never get an answer, but the questions haunted him endlessly. Every night, before falling asleep, Vincent would lie still, his eyes open, staring at the ceiling, trying to recapture a dream of Amelia. But the dreams never came. There was only darkness, silence, and the relentless remorse. He wondered if he had done something differently. Would Amelia still be alive? He couldn't stop thinking about the things he hadn't done, the words he hadn't said, and the moments they had missed. The guilt was like a wave, pulling him farther away, drowning every feeling of happiness he had once known. Everything seemed to fade for Vincent. He no longer saw a reason to continue writing, no longer had the desire to exist in a world where only he remained. But in the midst of this pain, Vincent couldn't help but remember a story Amelia once told him about the orphan children she had helped. That story had always been a significant part of their life together, and it always made Amelia smile, even if it was just a small, gentle smile. It was the story of poor children, abandoned lives with no place to go, and it was something reflecting the sky, had once been the place where he and Amelia had taken sweet walks during their days of happiness. But today, the park was nothing but a cold, dull, and silent space. Vincent walked slowly, his mind drifting to distant places, to where Amelia still existed. Like every day, he wasn't expecting anything, except perhaps to find a bit of peace in the fading memories. Vincent wandered down the familiar cobblestone path, his dreamy eyes glancing at the benches where others sat, yet none of them were familiar faces. In that space, a gentle light suddenly shone down, as if something was pulling him closer. That light led him to an unexpected place. Ahead, under the shade of a large oak tree, a boy was sitting alone. The boy wasn't looking around, only focused on a drawing on paper with delicate strokes that carried deep emotion. Vincent walked closer, curious about what the boy was doing. He paused for a moment, just watching without disturbing him. Then, a light breeze swept through, scattering dry leaves. The boy's drawing shifted, and in that moment, Vincent saw an image that made him choke. The drawing was a portrait of a woman, the one he had loved, the one he had lost. The portrait unmistakably depicted Amelia. Her eyes, her smile, her figure, all so like her. Vincent felt a mix of surprise and confusion in his chest. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. How could a boy who had never met her draw Amelia so accurately? Vincent took a deep breath and walked closer, both worried and curious. The boy, around 12 years old, with brown skin, naturally curly hair, and bright eyes that carried a touch of sadness, looked up when he heard Vincent's footsteps. The boy's face showed a slight surprise, but not fear. He just looked at Vincent for a long moment before giving a faint smile, perhaps feeling reassured by the presence of the stranger. "Sorry, I saw your drawing, and I'm quite surprised." Vincent spoke, his hands instinctively clenching as if trying to contain his emotions. "You drew a woman in this picture. Is she someone special to you?" The boy looked up, his eyes showing a hint of shyness. "Oh no, sir. She's someone I've seen in my dreams," the boy replied in a gentle but confident voice. "She's always there in my dreams. I don't know her name, but I know she's very important." Vincent felt a chilling shiver rise in him. The boy couldn't possibly know Amelia, yet he described her so accurately, as if he had known her for a long time. What an odd coincidence. "You are sure you've never met her?" Vincent asked again, his voice trembling slightly. The boy looked into Vincent's eyes once more, then shook his head. "No, I've never met her, but she's the only one who appears in my dreams. I just draw what she looks like." Vincent stood still for a few seconds, his gaze fixed on the drawing, feeling as if he was seeing a fragment of Amelia's soul come alive in the strokes. The drawing wasn't a coincidence. It wasn't something meaningless. It was a sign, a reminder that the universe was sending him. "What's your name?" Vincent tried to regain his composure, asking the boy, his curiosity and anxiety rising. "I'm Vincent, and you?" "I'm Eli," the boy replied, his eyes still serious but with a hint of confusion. "I don't understand why I draw her. It's just that when I close my eyes, she's always there." Vincent couldn't shake the feeling that something was strange. An orphan, raised in an orphanage, could see Amelia in his dreams? And there was a connection between the boy's dreams and his late wife? The questions had no answers, but Vincent felt he couldn't ignore it. He sat down next to Eli, looking at the drawing, and quietly asked further, "Can you tell me more about your dreams?" Eli looked at Vincent, hesitated for a moment, then began recounting the dreams he'd had, dreams about a woman he felt very close to, even though he had never met her. Those dreams not only featured Amelia's image, but also powerful feelings, as if she was always watching over him, following him from a place that Eli couldn't understand. Vincent listened quietly, a strange emotion swelling inside him, as if he was hearing a story from another world. And then, when Eli stopped speaking, Vincent couldn't help but ask more. Eli, do you know who she is? She's the one who helped many children, just like you. Eli looked at Vincent and nodded gently. I don't know her name, but I think she's someone I need to meet. I don't know why, but this feeling is very strong. Vincent felt his heart tighten. That feeling, that connection, couldn't be just a coincidence. He looked into Eli's eyes, and in those eyes, he realized something he hadn't fully understood before. A mysterious connection between the past and the present, between Amelia and Eli, between dreams without words and memories that couldn't be erased. Vincent was ready, ready to embark on the journey to understand this boy, and also to find back the part of Amelia's soul he had lost. The encounter with Eli, such a strange coincidence, wasn't just a meeting of two strangers. It was the turning point that led Vincent back to a new purpose in life. Vincent could not shake the strange feeling that the encounter with Eli had stirred in him. The portrait of Amelia, the boy's dreams, the similarities between Eli's descriptions of her, all of it made Vincent feel as though some invisible force was guiding him to a deep truth he had never realized. This sensation was unlike anything he had experienced during his years of loss. The strangeness of it went beyond any simple explanation. The next day, Vincent decided to meet Eli again. He felt that there was something important he needed to learn about the boy and the mysterious connection between Eli and Amelia. He couldn't stop thinking about what Eli had said, about the strange dream Eli had about Amelia. She's the only one who appears in my dreams. Eli's words echoed in his mind, preventing him from escaping the thought. How could an orphan know such detailed things about Amelia, even though she had passed away long ago and Eli had never met her? Vincent could not wait any longer. After tidying up his home, he headed to the park where he had met Eli before. Nothing seemed to have changed. The park remained quiet, and the yellow leaves still fluttered in the wind, but there was something in the air that made Vincent feel as if everything was ready for him to uncover the truth. He arrived at the area under the oak tree where Eli had often sat drawing, but today the boy was not there. Vincent sat on a nearby bench, feeling a bit anxious, not seeing Eli. He glanced around and then suddenly spotted a small figure walking from afar, a boy with an old, worn backpack. It was Eli. Vincent stood up and walked towards the boy. When Eli recognized him, a bright smile spread across his face, but there was still something in his eyes that wasn't fully at ease. It seemed Eli had realized that this meeting wasn't just a coincidence. "Hello, Mr. Vincent," the boy said in his usual gentle voice. Vincent didn't waste time. He decided to get straight to the point. "Eli, yesterday when I looked at your drawing, I felt something very strange. You drew a woman, and I realized that it was Amelia. You've never met her. So how did you draw her so accurately?" He looked into Eli's eyes, trying to find any sign that the boy might be hiding something. Eli sat down on the grass nearby, his gaze avoiding Vincent's, as though searching for an explanation for a question he didn't fully understand himself. After a moment of silence, Eli began to speak. "I don't know why I drew her, but since I came to the orphanage, she's appeared in my dreams. She always comes when I feel the loneliest, when I can't sleep, when I'm sad because I don't have a family, no one to take care of me." The boy paused, took a deep breath, and continued, "I don't think I know her, but it feels like she's known me for a long time. It's like she's watching over me from somewhere and wants me to draw her." Vincent listened, feeling a deep pang of sadness. The way Eli described the feeling of her always being there in his moments of loneliness made him think back to the times Amelia had spent helping orphan children before she passed away. Amelia had volunteered for many charities, helping children like Eli, But Vincent had never imagined that she could have such a profound influence, even after her death. Vincent felt a strong urge to understand more about Eli's dreams, this connection, and whether Amelia had truly done something to guide the boy to him. Eli, can you tell me more about your dreams? Has she ever said anything special to you? Eli looked up at Vincent, as if deciding whether or not to share more. Then the boy began telling him about a special dream he had a few weeks ago. She told me that I wouldn't be lonely anymore. She told me to believe in myself, that I could do anything just like the children she helped. She said I would meet a man I need to trust, someone who would help me make my dreams come true. The boy stopped, his eyes lighting up as he spoke of those words. She said I would meet someone like that, and when I did, everything would change. Vincent suddenly realized that the words from Eli's dream were words that Amelia could have said. This feeling was something he couldn't deny. It was a message, a sign that Amelia had sent to Eli, and perhaps to him as well. But why had she done this? Why did she want to connect herself to an orphan like Eli? Could it be that she felt a responsibility toward the children she had helped during her years as a volunteer? And was it possible that these children were guiding him back to a part of his life that he had lost? Vincent couldn't stop the questions swirling in his mind. He looked at Eli, and in the boy's eyes, he saw a sincerity he couldn't ignore. This wasn't a joke. Eli was sharing something very important about his life, something that could change Vincent's life as well. Amelia, the woman he had loved, was living on in Eli's dreams. And perhaps those dreams were the key to Vincent finding himself again, to finding meaning in his life once more. Vincent stood up, determined not to miss this opportunity. Eli, I want you to keep drawing these pictures, and I want you to tell me more about your dreams. Amelia, she may not be alive anymore, but maybe she wants us to do something to change your life and the lives of other children like you. Eli smiled, his eyes glowing with hope. I'll tell you everything, Vincent. I'll tell you everything. Vincent stood on the balcony of his apartment, looking out at the bustling cityscape, the skyscrapers twinkling under the city lights. A world he no longer felt part of. Each step, each breath of life outside seemed insufficient to pull him from the stupor of his pain. But today, after his encounter with Eli, something had changed within him. A pull, a clear realization that if he didn't change, if he didn't find his purpose again, his life would forever be a mere dent in the sea of silence. Eli, the boy with strange dreams and a mysterious connection to Amelia, was like an invisible thread pulling him out of the darkness. The stories Eli told, the messages Amelia sent in his dreams, made Vincent realize something important. Amelia didn't just live in his memory. She continued to live on, still influencing the world through the children she had helped. And Eli was the link, the key he needed to unlock a new door in his life. Vincent knew he couldn't continue living like this, sitting idly, looking back at the past without doing anything to change. He had to take action, to do something to truly honor Amelia's legacy, to ensure the good she had done in life wasn't forgotten. So, with a renewed determination, Vincent began his journey to find his purpose again. He spent the entire week researching charitable organizations and the opportunities Amelia had been involved with. In quiet evenings, he sat at his desk, flipping through the papers, the reports Amelia had drafted when she was alive, the projects she had poured herself into. Each time he read her words, each time he looked at the faded photographs, he felt his strength renewed. Amelia's efforts were not in vain. She had worked tirelessly to create change for the poor, for the orphan children, and now it was his turn to carry on that work, even without her by his side. One of the organizations Amelia had been involved in was an educational center for underprivileged children in the outskirts of the city. She had helped hundreds of children, teaching them, encouraging them to develop their talents, and helping them find opportunities for a better future. Vincent decided to visit that center. He didn't know what he would find there, but he felt strongly that it was the place where he could start his new journey. A part of Amelia, a part of what she had left behind. When Vincent arrived at the center, he met the director, a middle-aged woman named Miriam. She had known Amelia for a long time and had always regarded her as a close friend. Miriam looked at Vincent with deep sympathy as he spoke of his wife's death and his desire to continue her work. Amelia would be very proud to see you standing here today, Miriam said warmly. She always believed that every child could change their life, as long as someone believed in them and helped them. Vincent felt a strange sensation stir in his soul. He had come to the right place. These children, these circumstances, they were the reason he was still alive. He knew that if he could help these children, if he could give them the opportunities Amelia had, he would find his purpose again. He wouldn't just live for the memories, but to continue the legacy she had left. Vincent began to attend classes at the center, organizing activities for the children, helping the teachers develop scholarship programs for outstanding students. Each day, he spent time with the children, listening to their stories, encouraging them to pursue their dreams, just as Amelia had. He saw a new belief in their eyes, a belief that he had lost long ago. Day by day, Vincent began to feel himself change. The old pains, the memories of Amelia, no longer made him crumble. He realized that this work, this helping of children, was the only way he could continue living meaningfully. These children, had helped him heal, helped him find part of himself he had lost in the sorrow and solitude. One day, while sitting in a class with the students, Vincent saw Eli enter with a backpack on his shoulder, a bright smile on his face. The boy was no longer the lonely child, but a confident student who had found his own purpose. Eli wasn't just coming to class to learn, but to help other younger kids. Vincent realized that it was this boy, these strange dreams of Eli, that had led him to a new path, a path he could now walk without the pain. Vincent no longer saw his life the same way. He had found his purpose through small deeds, through the support he gave to poor children, through the dreams Amelia had left for Eli. He understood that, even though Amelia was no longer by his side, the value she had left behind would always exist in this world. And if he could continue her legacy, he would live his life more completely than ever before. Vincent's journey to find his purpose wasn't just a process of healing. It was about continuing the best things he and Amelia had created, so that children like Eli could find hope and opportunity in life. The story of Amelia, the story of Vincent and Eli, was a journey not only through pain, but also a revolution in the heart of each person to build a world where love and hope never fade. Vincent stood in the large room, where warm yellow lights illuminated the space, reflecting the effort and hope in the eyes of the children around him. This feeling was magical, as if he had found a real home, where each light represented a bright future, where each smile of the children was proof of something larger than any personal success he had ever sought. This was no longer work, it was life, a revolution in Vincent's soul. He had been here for several months since deciding to return to the work Amelia had started, and gradually, everything had changed. It wasn't just about work or responsibility. It was a transformation in his outlook on life. The children in this educational center had taught him more than he could ever teach them. With the support of Miriam, the passionate director, Vincent began to create scholarship programs for students from difficult backgrounds, but with great potential. He began organizing supplementary classes, sharing sessions about success stories, and people who had risen from failure. What he wanted to create was not just a place to learn, but a community, a space where people could feel connection, understanding, and sharing. On the first day Vincent held the first sharing session about success stories in life, he He was surprised to see even poor parents joining with their children. An unusual atmosphere filled the space, with strangers coming together, sharing stories they had never told before. Vincent stood before the crowd, his eyes lighting up as he saw the eagerness in the children's eyes, the attentive listening of the adults. We cannot change the past, but we can change the future. That is what Amelia did. And now, we will continue her path. He didn't need to say much more because the bright eyes were the answer. The change Vincent had started with small classes, spiritual sharing sessions, quickly spread throughout the community. The students not only worked hard, but also began to create their own initiatives. They organized book and clothing donations for other children in the area. They began helping newcomers at the center, creating a support circle Vincent could never have imagined. Amelia's values of kindness and sharing had truly penetrated the minds of the children. And they weren't just learning subjects like math or literature, but also learning how to live, how to face difficulties, and how to help each other overcome obstacles. Miriam saw the change in this community clearly. She remembered the time when she and Amelia first began this work. Back then, they were just people planting seeds of hope in a world filled with poverty and deprivation. They only had promises, projects, and a strong belief in the power to change each child's life. But today, seeing the steady steps of the students, seeing their smiles and the confidence on their faces, Miriam couldn't help but feel proud. Vincent, you haven't just changed a few children. You've changed this entire community, she said, her voice full of gratitude. Vincent looked at her, then at the children playing outside, children who were no longer sad images, but images of hope and dreams. He couldn't help but smile. We've done this together, he responded. And now, I understand that this work is not just continuing Amelia's work. It is our journey, our community's journey. One weekend evening, as Vincent sat in the office with a few parents and students, he received a message from Eli. The boy invited him to a small gathering at his home, where he would share his stories of change in life. Vincent was surprised, but he felt that this was an important step, a sign of Eli's growth. The boy was no longer the lonely child Vincent had met on the first day, but now he was a leader, someone who could inspire others. When Vincent arrived at Eli's house, he noticed that the room the boy shared with his grandmother had become much warmer. The paintings on the walls, the neatly arranged books on the shelves, everything showed a clear change. The boy was slowly building a new life for himself, no longer burdened by the shadows of the past. Eli smiled when he saw Vincent walk in. I've organized this meeting because I want to show everyone how I've changed, Eli said, his voice full of confidence. And I want to thank you, Vincent, for helping me realize that I'm not alone. Vincent sat down, looking at Eli and the friends surrounding him. He felt a sense he had never felt before, the hope that not only came from himself, but from the very people he had helped. Eli and his friends were now a strong community, a new family, where everyone was an important part of each other's change. The community that Vincent and Amelia had built was not just a place to learn, but a living environment where every individual could contribute and make a difference. This change didn't stop at a few children. It was a small revolution, a movement helping each other overcome difficulties, helping each other reach for a brighter future. One day, when Vincent stood at the education center, watching the children play and share stories about their futures, he felt that Amelia's work was still continuing. She was no longer present here, but the values she had planted still blossomed every day, and they would continue to bloom in this community forever. Vincent had not only found his purpose again, but also helped other children find their own paths. They had become important factors in creating a better society, where love, sharing, and hope would never fade. This community, though only just beginning, carried an immense strength within. The children of today would become the leaders, the inspirers for the generations to come. And in all these steps, one thing was certain: Amelia's legacy would never fade. As the months passed, Vincent clearly felt the changes in his life, from the reflective mornings to the evenings filled with the laughter of children. He no longer saw himself as the lonely man in the dark room of his past. Each passing day, he felt himself gradually integrating into the rhythm of this community, into the activities of the educational center Amelia had poured her heart into. From the moment he began this work, Vincent had hoped that he could continue Amelia's legacy, but now he realized that this work wasn't just about maintaining what had been started. It had become an integral part of his life, something he wanted to protect and develop, not out of responsibility, but because of the love and belief in what Amelia had created. Throughout this process, one thing Vincent hadn't expected was the change in his relationship with those around him. The children he was helping were not just students, but had become companions, people who brought him joy and comfort he thought he would never have again. Eli, the boy he first met in the park, had now become one of his closest friends. He was no longer the lonely child, but a student full of confidence and hope. Vincent was no longer a solitary figure, because now he had a new family, a family not tied by blood, but one bound by shared ideals, supporting and loving each other like family. One day, as Vincent was sitting in a classroom at the center, a familiar face appeared. Laura, his ex-wife, walked in with a surprised look and a gentle smile. Since she had decided to leave, Vincent hadn't seen Laura again. They hadn't spoken in the months that had passed, even though both knew that the pain of the past couldn't be easily erased. But today, everything seemed to change. Vincent looked into Laura's eyes and realized that, although they were no longer a couple, there was still a special connection between them. It wasn't the love they had once shared, but an understanding, a respect for what they had gone through together. "I heard you're working here." Laura spoke, her voice gentle, but full of concern. "Are you okay?" Vincent sat up straight, looking at her sincerely. "I'm okay, Laura. Really okay. These past months, I've found the things I had lost. I'm not just helping these children, I'm learning from them. I'm living again, not just for myself, but for those around me." Laura sat down next to him, her eyes betraying her emotion. "You've done what I couldn't. I've always felt like a failure when I left you, when I walked away from everything. But now, seeing you, I see something very special. You've found yourself again." Vincent could feel the change in Laura's voice. She was no longer the woman of sorrow, no longer the wife who left because of loneliness in their marriage. She had understood that Vincent, like her, needed to find his own path, and separation was not the end, but a turning point for both to find a new direction. Their relationship was no longer the same, but deep inside, Vincent felt a sense of relief. They were no longer strangers, but friends, people who could share and understand each other, even though they no longer lived together. This feeling, the feeling of forgiveness and acceptance, was what Vincent needed to continue moving forward in his journey. For him, family was no longer just about biological ties, but about relationships built on love, trust, and tangible actions. As time passed, Vincent began to realize that family bonds didn't always come from a simple origin. He had a new family, not the people who were once his relatives, but the children at the center, Miriam, and the friends in the community he had built. They weren't blood relatives, but the love and support they gave him had created a strong bond. The dinners at Miriam's house, the study hours with the students, the conversations with Eli and the others gradually formed a new family, a family that didn't need traditional relationships but was still full of love. One evening, while Vincent was sitting at his desk, Eli suddenly walked in, holding a new painting. "Vincent, I've painted Amelia again," the boy said, his eyes shining with pride. "I want you to see it. I painted her because I know she would be very proud of you." Vincent looked at the painting, feeling a great emotion rising within him. This boy, Eli, was not just his student. He had become part of his life, part of the family he had created. "Thank you, Eli," Vincent said, his voice choking. "She will be proud of you and proud of everything we've done." Eli smiled and sat down next to Vincent. "I want to continue this path, Vincent. I don't want to just be a poor child. I want to be someone who can help other kids like me." Vincent gently patted Eli's shoulder, feeling the maturity in the boy. "You will. You'll help many more people, and we'll do it together." That feeling, the feeling of a family that didn't need to have blood ties, but was still full of love and sharing, is what Vincent had found throughout his journey. He had learned that family didn't always come from biological connections, but from relationships built over time through support and sincere affection. Vincent was no longer the lonely man in the room full of sorrow from the past. He had found a new family, a family built from love, hope, and connections he never thought he could find. And most importantly, he had found himself again, a person who could love, who could give and receive affection in this life. As winter approached, the atmosphere in the center grew unusually warm. Over the past days, Vincent had spent most of his time continuing to perfect the scholarship programs, community activities, and organizing sharing sessions with students and parents. From a place that started with uncertain steps, the center had now become a symbol of change and hope. Not only the students, but also the parents had found a new direction for themselves. Vincent could not help but notice this change, a transformation that had started from the very seeds Amelia had planted. And he, with love and faith in her values, had made those seeds bloom, creating strong, towering trees ready to embrace the light. This change was not only taking place within the educational center, but was also spreading throughout the community. Seeing children from struggling families not only excel in their studies, but also become role models for others, Vincent felt like he was living in a beautiful dream. His students were no longer just hardworking pupils, but they had become sources of inspiration for other children in the area. Eli, the boy he had met at the very beginning, had now become one of the best students. He not only helped his classmates, but also participated in community activities, encouraging his peers to build a positive learning environment. Eli's actions not only set an example for his classmates, but also made Vincent feel that Amelia's legacy was not only being maintained, but was thriving. Since the students began to inspire others, stories about this educational center began to spread everywhere. Parents from neighboring areas who had never known of the center's existence now started to come. They heard about the successes, the life-changing stories, and couldn't help but be drawn in. Vincent knew that this ripple effect was the result of tireless efforts, inspiring sharing sessions, shining examples from the students, and most importantly, the legacy Amelia had left behind. The values she had planted were now in full bloom, creating a great movement that not only brought hope to the children, but also to the families, the people who once thought they had no chance to change their fate. Vincent vividly remembered the early days when he first entered the center. At that time, everything was still a patchwork, fragments that he had to piece together bit by bit. But now everything was different. Every corner of the center, every lesson, every classroom reflected the values Amelia had established. He recalled what she had once said: "We cannot change the past, but we can create a new future." And now, Vincent understood that those words had guided him, had shown him the path he had to follow. Each student he helped, each child he encouraged, was a part of Amelia's legacy. But that legacy was not just about maintaining what she had done. It was a fire that was continuing to burn brighter, spreading to places Vincent could not have imagined. One of the things Vincent was most proud of was seeing the change in the parents. Those who once didn't believe in their children's abilities had now begun to participate in the center's activities, attend sharing sessions, and most importantly, they had started to see the potential in their own children. One evening, at a parent meeting, a woman stood up, her eyes red but full of determination. Before coming here, I thought my child would never have a chance. But today I see my child differently. Not only is she learning better, but she has also learned how to love, how to share with others. Thank you, Vincent. Thank you, Amelia. These words, full of emotion, made Vincent feel that his efforts were not in vain. What he was doing was not only changing the lives of the students, but also changing the lives of families and communities he had never imagined. Vincent increasingly realized that the legacy Amelia left behind was not just about what she had done for the children. It was the belief in the potential of every person, in the change that each individual could bring to the world. What Amelia had planted was not grand actions, but small but meaningful acts, such as teaching a child to believe in themselves or helping a family realize that they could change their lives. That legacy had become a guiding torch for those who were willing to embrace it, and Vincent was now the one continuing to light that torch. One day, when Vincent stood in the schoolyard, watching the children playing, he felt an extraordinary sense of peace. This feeling was not contentment, but fulfillment, a satisfaction that he was on the right path. Amelia's legacy was no longer just memories, but actions, steps, smiles, and the changes she had created. These children, these people he had met, would continue that legacy, would continue to bring light to those who needed it. Vincent was no longer the lonely man in a world full of sorrow. He had become part of a community, a family not just by blood, but by shared values, by sharing and loving. And though Amelia was no longer here, her legacy lived on, not just in Vincent's heart, but in every step the children she had helped took, in every action they made, in every look from parents realizing they too could change their fate. That legacy would never fade, but would continue to spread, creating a better world where love and hope would always reign. Vincent stood by the window, looking outside at the city lights illuminating the long streets, creating a scene that was both peaceful and warm. He clearly felt something he hadn't understood before. Each person, each event in life can have a greater impact than we imagine. What may seem small, the simplest actions can change a life or even an entire community. Seeing the students in the center, witnessing the change within the families and the surrounding community, Vincent could not help but realize the profound message Amelia had left for him, a message he hadn't seen at first. This message was simple but powerful. Every person has the ability to change the world around them, not through great acts, but through small, meaningful actions. It's helping a child learn to believe in themselves, listening and understanding those around us, daring to stand up when we feel we can make a difference. Every action from a sincere heart can plant seeds of change, and although it may take time, those seeds will eventually bloom, creating changes beyond our imagination. Vincent recalled the early days when he started at the center, when he was still confused and unsure about his purpose. He had thought that Amelia's legacy was only about the things she did while alive, the scholarship programs, the classes for poor children, and the time she spent with the community. But now, he understood that her legacy was not just those simple acts. It was a flame that Amelia had lit, and now he was the one continuing to light that flame, spreading it to others. Amelia's legacy wasn't just in the charitable organizations she contributed to, or in the students she helped. Her legacy was a change in perspective, a change in how we view life, and in how each person can make a difference in the world around them. Change doesn't come from doing great things, but from the humble things, those seemingly insignificant actions that can lead to monumental change. Vincent realized that through Eli's dreams, through the actions of the students in the center, he had learned a great lesson. The dreams of the boy weren't just images of someone who had passed, but images of the things Eli wanted to achieve in life. The boy didn't just see Amelia in his dreams. He saw himself. He saw the potential to change his own life. That was the message Vincent had realized throughout his journey. In reality, nothing is impossible to change as long as we have faith in ourselves and are willing to act. The community Vincent had built was not just a place to study and exchange knowledge. It was a place where people could find understanding and mutual support. It was a place where everyone, regardless of background or circumstance, could find a reason to move forward and not give up. The children in the center, from Eli to the other students, didn't just learn academic subjects, but they learned how to live, how to face difficulties, and most importantly, how to love and help others. They didn't just learn to be good students, they learned to be people with a heart. Vincent also realized that the legacy he was continuing wasn't something eternal and unchanging. It was a process, a continuation and development of the values Amelia had sown. Those values had helped him find himself, helping him understand that life wasn't a long string of meaningless days, but a journey full of meaning if we know how to look at it and act. The changes he saw in the lives of the students, the changes in himself, were the clearest evidence that we can change the world if we have enough faith and action. The message Amelia left for Vincent, and through him for all those who walked alongside him, was the power of kindness, of trusting in the ability to change. No one can change the world instantly, but every small action, every sincere word, every helping gesture can have a greater impact than we imagine. And this change, like a circle, will spread and create unpredictable results. Vincent knew he was not just continuing Amelia's legacy, but creating his own legacy. That legacy was not just what he had done for the children, but the change in how he viewed life, how he lived and acted. Now, standing in the middle of the community he had helped build, he understood that a legacy is not about what we leave behind when we're gone, but about what we create throughout our lives, and more importantly, what we pass on to others. This legacy would never fade. It would live on in every heart Amelia had touched, in every step of the children who had received help, in every small action of those who had found change thanks to what she left behind. And Vincent, even without Amelia by his side, knew her legacy would live on, not just in his memory, but in every action of the people she had touched. Amelia's legacy would never end. It would continue to spread, continue to create change, and continue to light the flame of love and hope in this world.